Greetings, church, and thank you for inviting us to participate with you via video. We're glad to be a part of what's happening there at your church, and we're so very appreciative for the way in which you are supporting us through prayer and your concern and actually finding out what's happening in our lives. It's a real blessing to us, and so we just wanted to say thank you, first of all. And thanks for the opportunity to just talk a little bit about what's been happening with us over the course of the last year and a half. So I'll let Deb start with that. And the first question you asked us was, how are the kids doing in school? So I'll let her take that.
Okay, so just in case you didn't know, we actually are a homeschooling family, so we are still homeschooling the kids here, and they're doing well. We're having fun. We've always really enjoyed the homeschooling journey, and it gives us a chance to spend time together and focus on things that interest us and do special activities. So yeah, it's going well.
Yeah. You also asked, is there something about the culture of this country which has surprised us? And I think for me, probably one of the biggest surprises is the amount of animism that still exists within the country and within the religion. Thailand claims to be a Buddhist country, and I would say that they would say that without hesitation. But there's a lot of spirit worship that happens. In fact, one conversation with a teacher that I had, a Thai teacher that I had, we talked about the fact that they appreciate Buddhism, but it's too much work, and so they tend to move towards this spiritism and worshiping at spirit houses because it tends to get them immediate results. And so there really is a spiritual warfare that's going on here that explains, I think, a little bit more why the gospel has been moving at such a slow pace here in Thailand. We've had missionaries here for many years, but then the results have been slim. So I can understand that when I understand the mindset of the people who are growing up here.
Well, maybe you can tell them a little bit about specifically how they try to use the spirit worship.
Yeah, one of the ways in which that happens is if there's something specific happening in their lives, they will make an offering to the spirit house and to the spirits that live in that house in order to accomplish the end result that they want. For instance, this particular teacher told me that she and her boyfriend had made offerings at this spirit's house asking to be married for eternity. Yeah. That they would, when they were reincarnated, they would always find each other and be connected in that way. And so that's one of the ways in which that happens here. What about you?
I think one of the biggest things about the culture that has surprised me has been the traffic patterns. And I know I've heard a lot of people talk about living in developing countries and what the traffic is like there, but I think until you are actually driving in that situation yourself, you don't really understand. There seems to be no rules of the road, really. Things that you would think would be obvious, following traffic signals, following traffic lanes. These things are
going the right way,
going the right direction
on a one-way street.
And there almost seem, from an outside point of view, I think people might even think that they have a disregard for safety, that they don't even care about being safe, because you see multiple people on a motorbike, none of them wearing helmets, some of them very young children or even infants on motorbikes. And there are other areas that, that appearance of not caring about safety. They sit on the power lines when they're working on them, and there are packs of dogs that just roam the street. So these things kind of catch you off guard at first, and they take some getting used to.
And we have a great saying in our family about that, and that is
safety third.
Safety third. When it comes to traffic patterns, that's me first.
Right. I have the right of way.
We don't know what's second, but safety is third. So right. that's the way we deal with that. Right. Another question that you asked is a great question. How have you grown in your faith and missionary work while serving in Thailand? And I think the best way to answer that for me is, I was very happy being a pastor in the U.S., really appreciated and enjoyed that life, and did not really sense any reason to leave that life. But there really is a correlation, I think, between our dependence upon God and our skill set and skill level at a certain point, where when you begin something new, your dependence on God is way up here and your skill set's way down here, and then as time goes on, you tend to kind of balance those things out, or maybe even get to a point where you're relying mostly on your skill instead of depending upon God. And I think moving here has really thrust me back into that role of complete dependence upon God. I can't communicate without God's help. I cannot teach a class. I cannot get from point A to point B or find what I need at a store without God's help. And to be that dependent, I think, has helped me to reconnect with God in a very special way. And we spend a lot of time talking on a daily basis. I think one of the things, we can say that how have we grown, but it's also been a struggle because we had a family routine back in the States that was very beneficial for our family spiritual growth. We had opportunities where we would always come together, and we made sure, I made sure we didn't set appointments at certain times of the day so that we would come together and be able to grow in the Word and in our time of prayer and just in connecting with each other. That has been a struggle, and that would be a point of prayer. I would ask that you would pray for us, that we would be able to really bring that back around and to be intentional about growing the kids in their spiritual walk as well. Okay.
So you've also asked, how do we deal with being homesick when we're far away from family? And I would be lying if I said we never got homesick, because it's simply not true. There are days when it's really, really hard to be away from our family and friends. So what do? Well, we cry a little bit, and we hold each other, and we share memories, make a few Skype calls, and thank the Lord that we have the ability to keep in touch with people. I can't imagine doing this sort of thing 20 years ago. I know people have been doing this for years and years and years, but to the idea of not being able to quickly be in touch, that would just make things so much more difficult. So we have become very thankful for the internet, for Facebook, for things like that, ways to keep in touch, and we pray a lot.
Yeah.
Just again, it goes back to that learning to just really depend on God rather than depending on your friends and your family. So,
and a lot of it has to do with focus. I think one of the ways in which we've kind of combated that, Debbie has done a really good job with the kids, is that starting each day with what are you thankful for, and in specific areas. Give 3 blessings that come from this area. What things are you thankful for? And that has been extremely helpful when you're focused on those things that God is doing and for which you are thankful. It helps through those times when you have those yuck days. We have yay ducks and yuck ducks. That's a paradox. We still have a paradox on a regular basis. So the 5th question you asked was, as a family, what's the biggest stress of being a missionary family?
I think it's got to be learning to live within the culture.
I think it's communication.
Just you can't assume that you will be able to make yourself understood anywhere you go. So even though there's a familiarity, there's not a familiarity.
Yeah. And this really hit home with me just a couple of days ago. My mom, bless her heart, she got a new computer, and my mom is not necessarily, she's not a tech person. She's not an IT person. She knows how to work the computer when it works, but when it doesn't work, that's a problem. And so here I am, half a world away, trying to help her get set up, and I'm speaking computerese, and she doesn't speak computerese. And so that really kind of drove home that whole idea of every time we go out, every time we try and have a conversation, we are constantly struggling to be understood. And I don't know if you've ever had that situation, but if you are constantly talking with someone who doesn't understand you, it can really drain you mentally, spiritually, and emotionally to never be understood. And so that's why we cling to one another tightly and talk with one another specifically. We have instituted date night so that every week we go and just have conversation where
with
we know
someone who understands us,
where we know we will be understood. And sometimes that doesn't always work, even though we
That's
think
true.
we're going to be, but we work through that too. But I would say that's been a huge
I
stress
think so
on the
too.
family.
I
I think
think.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last question you asked was, what would you tell someone who is thinking of devoting his or her life to missionary work? Make sure you are called.
Absolutely. This is not something you do out of guilt or obligation, not to try to somehow earn God's favor, to think you're going to do something for him. This is hard, and it is only for people whom God has told to do this. I really believe that.
I would also tell you that if God is calling you, there is no better place to be than in the
that is
center of
true.
his will.
That is
That if God is calling you to a life of mission work, that you will find that God will open those doors and he will make those things possible. It may require you to prepare for that in various ways. It may require you to wait upon the Lord. It's not, this is not something to which we always aspired. It's not something we thought, oh, let's be missionaries when we grow up. This was something that God definitely called us to, and we sensed that call and have followed that call. And there really is, despite all of the things that might seem really hard and stressful, there is no better place to be than in the center of that will.
That's
And I would say
absolutely true.
pursue it. Start by knowing a missionary and getting to know what life is really like. One of the things that we find is that those people who get all excited about doing mission work, but do it because they're trying to earn God's favor, or because they're feeling guilty about a past life or something. And we know some of those folks. Those folks last only about one term.
Yeah,
if
burn
they
out
make
very
it
quickly
if they make it through that term.
because they're trying on their own strength, and
Yes.
you just can't do it on
And
your
so
own.
we
It has
would
to be God.
we would invite conversation with anyone
Absolutely.
who is interested in that. We would love to talk to you and to explore that possibility and what that might mean. It's interesting that nowadays mission does not necessarily mean someone with a theological education. It might mean engineering, it might mean nursing. There are all kinds of ways
Yeah.
in which you can serve the Lord on foreign soils, or even as a missionary in your very own backyard. There's nothing wrong with that either.
You know, I would say too, just to add on to that real quickly, is if you are spending your time focused on Christ, if you are truly living a life of worship to Him, and endeavoring in every moment to be focused on who God is and on God's glory, I think He will reveal to you very clearly, in the same way that He did to Isaiah and Ezekiel and John. He will reveal Himself very clearly as to who He is and what He would have for you. So just focus on God. Give God the glory in every moment of your life, and just focus on living a life of worship. And I think He'll take care of the rest.
Absolutely. Again, we want to say thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to meet with you. Would love to be able to do this live via Skype, and I know that those possibilities may come to a sanctuary near you one day very soon. But until they do, thanks for this opportunity and for sending us some great questions. If you have more or want to do this again, we're always open to that possibility. If someone wants to do this personally with us and just Skype with us personally, we're open to that as well. Just contact us via email. Your pastor knows how to do that, and we'd love to connect with you.
And you can also send us a message on our Facebook page, The Whitmers in Thailand.
That's
We'd be glad
right.
to hear from you.
And we are always looking for people to contact and connect with us. Conversations, cards, letters. We love things like that. So if you want to make that connection, pen pals with us, we'd love to have that opportunity. So thank you.
Well, blessings to all of you.
Lord bless you and keep you.
And stay close to Jesus.
พระเจ้าอวยพร สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
And we hope that that you are blessed by God greatly this day. Bye-bye.